Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 117 of the This Old Knit podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can find show notes for this episode and all previous episodes on their corresponding numbered thread of the This Old Knit Ravelry group. So hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to new viewers, and I've noticed we have quite a few new viewers on YouTube, and welcome back to all returning viewers. I'm so happy to chat with you again. So we just got back from camping yesterday, and it was an aborted camping trip. And there were lots of things that kind of went wrong with said camping trip. But I will save that for the end of the episode for those of you who are not interested in hearing about it. And for those of you who are, you can just hang out after the episode. I just realized there's something behind there that I need to go and get that I was going to share. And you can see my new t-shirt while I'm up. So yeah. So I have several knitting whips. I don't have any finished objects this week. Yeah, the only thing I finished is I repaired the toes of Josh's socks that I knit for him out of Wool and Vine Yarns Footsie and Madeline Tosh sock, and it was like leftovers. I used that for the heels and toes, and the heels had already failed, so they were the ones that I cut the foot and the leg off, and I reknit a new heel with Patton's Croy. So now the toes, one toe got a true hole in it and one was wearing very thin, so I just cut those both off and knit new toes. The Footsie is fine, the Patton's Croy is fine, but Tosh sock is not for socks. Don't knit socks with it, people. Doesn't work. Yeah, it does not pass the Josh test, but the Footsie is still going strong, so that I can highly recommend. But I don't have them because he's wearing them today. So I will show, just starting with whips. So the first whip that I have, I'll start with the ones that are up here, is my Cipolla sweater. And this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I wanted to say Andrea Mowry, but it's not Andrea Mowry, it's Caitlin Hunter. And it is a colorwork sweater. I don't know why I'm not focusing right now. It's a little bit hot. It's hot. And that's part of the reason we came back from camping. So I think today with heat index, it's supposed to be over 100. And we were going to be packing up to come back from camping today. Way too hot. So anyway, Cipolla. I did two colors. One is Wool and Vine Yarns Volca in the Lady of the Lake colorway. The other one is the Yarn at Home Mom in her Glimmer base in an unnamed turquoise / teal. I finished the yoke, and I believe I had the body finished last time I podcast, but I'm not sure. So I alternated skeins after the colorwork section using the helical knitting method, and then when I got to the ribbing, I actually just cut one of the skeins because I did not want to alternate in ribbing. I haven't figured out how to do that method in a patterned section, and I think for ribbing it didn't matter anyway. So this was a pretty uniform skein. It doesn't really have a lot of color variegation, so even the pooling that it does have kind of swirls around, and I think with the ribbing you can't even tell. So I started one sleeve. I've actually completed all of the dots except for this last one. I have, the single stitch on the end to do on both sides, and then I will actually be into the colorwork sleeve proper. Sorry, I knit on 2 circular needles, so you're going to get a lot of noise. So there it is. Again, I alternated skeins down the sleeve, but then when I got to here, I went back to a single skein of yarn. And it was the one that I had more of, so that I can keep alternating those 2 skeins on the other side and get uniform variegation. So it's coming along. I think this will probably be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. So I did not get tickets to Indie Untangled. I wasn't going to go originally, and my friend Andrea, who's coming to stay with me, really wanted to go. So I was like, well, I'm not going to poo-poo on your Rhinebeck experience, so I'll go if you do. And then I camped tickets, and they sold out in literally 30 seconds. Like, I was pulling down the number to get more than one because we had maybe a group. So my sister's also coming to stay with me. So I was like, well, I'll try to get 3 tickets. And in the time it took to select more than one, they were sold out. So my friend Andrea got one. I don't have one. My sister doesn't have one. It's a 2-hour drive from here each way. So I was like, okay, I don't want to drive 2 hours to hang out for 2 hours while someone else shops, and then I drive back 2 hours. So, sorry, my ear's really ringing from, we used the air pump to pump up the mattresses, and I told my husband I need ear protection for next time. We need to add it to the electronics box because it hurts my ear to use the inflating thing, the air pump. It's really loud. And I think I have some damage to my left ear because it just does weird things. So even when I'm talking really loud for the podcast, it's actually echoing right now. I don't know. I can still hear out of it fine, but it does that weird echoing thing periodically, and I have to keep like popping my ears. Yeah. Little known facts about Nina. So anyway, I still have a lot of the teal color left. Like I said, this is almost a full ball, so I'm using this by itself with the Lady of the Lake. I still have lots of that, so plenty to finish the sweater. I really like it. It fits me very nicely. I made a size small, I think. As per usual, Caitlin Hunter calls for 12 to 15 inches of positive ease on this. I do not like wearing my sweaters that way. She also is a much looser knitter than I am. So based on my gauge and measurements, I think I'm ending up with a 40-inch bust, which is like 3 inches of negative ease on my bust, but then 2 inches of positive ease on the upper bust part. So it's perfect. It fits very nicely, and I haven't washed it and blocked it yet, obviously, but with the try-on, I think it's great. So that is whip number 1. Let me put it down there so that it doesn't get in my way. Okay, whip number 2 is another Caitlin Hunter pattern, and this one was a new cast on. So I showed in the last podcast that I received my Solidarity Swap number 1 yarn from Darcy, and she sent me the Parkour Kitties Yellow Orchid colorway, and I really wanted to knit that up into something for summer because yellow, just bright yellow, reminds me a lot of summer, and it's my favorite color. I love all yellows equally, but this color doesn't really do anything for me in terms of skin tone, so I knew I wanted to put it with something so that I can enjoy that bright yellow fun color, but not necessarily have it right by my face. So I've had 2 skeins of the Yarn at Home Mom Mocha Caramel Swirlicino. Hang on, you get the label. Figured I'd just get the labels. So I'm using the Parkour Kitties. It doesn't matter, it's going to be backwards anyway. But it's Parkour Kitties. It's hand dyed in Singapore, and the colorway is Yellow Orchid. So this is an MCN, and it's a little bit smaller of a yardage put up. So again, that was another reason to use it with something, because it's 350 meters versus I think a normal sock yarn skein in the US is about 400 meters. Totally fine. I have more than enough for this, and I think I might also knit a pair of socks out of it. And I am also using the Mocha Chocolate Caramel Swirlicino basic fingering weight yarn, which is a 75-25 merino nylon superwash from the Yarn at Home Mom. So this is the Gilmore Girls Club colorway from 2 years ago. I signed up for a Gilmore Girls Club from Shannon, and I love all of my skeins from that. But this one, in one of Jilly's D-stashes, she was selling her club skein, so I picked it up because I knew that this very neutrally color would be great in a sweater. And if I had 2 skeins, I could use it with some other skeins of yarn and make a sweater out of it. So now I'm executing on that plan. So this is the Marettimo, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, by Caitlin Hunter again. So this is one of her, it's like Italian cities, but Tania is actually a city in Switzerland, technically. But she made 3 tops. There's the Novelli tee, the Marettimo, and Tania. So I made the Tania, and I showed that last time completed, and I really liked it. So I went ahead and cast on the Marettimo, which I also had in my pattern library from last year. She had a sale on all of her Boylan Knitworks patterns for her birthday. And so I picked up pretty much all of the ones that I would want to knit, at least as of that point. And this was one of them. This was, I think, a new design at that point. So I'll come closer. So it's a feather and fan stripe of lace. And then this is the, this is how the Mocha Chocolate Caramel Swirlicino knits up. I'm alternating skeins again using the helical knitting method. And this is actually a contrast skein, this solid tan stripe, and it's also on the bottom. It's really rolling up, so I'm hoping that when I block it, that's not going to happen, because that's super going to annoy me if it stays like that, because it kind of looks yucky. But I'm hoping with the magic of blocking that it will flip down. If shawls are any guide, it will. But this is a local yarn dyer in the Bay Area called Pagewood Farms. This is their Chugiak base, and it's like a very tightly spun sock yarn. I believe it is BFL nylon. And this is one of the oldest skeins in my stash, I would say. It's probably from 2004 or 5. I didn't actually add it to my stash when I first got it because I wasn't using Ravelry that much. But I know that I bought it before or while I still lived in the Bay Area. So I've had it for a really long time, but I thought it looked super nice with this one, the Yarn at Home Mom yarn. And it was a very nice contrast to the yellow. So yay, I'm all done with my yellow stripes on the bottom. And I'm just going up the body now, and it's just plain stockinette all the way up with this delightful yarn, which is really cool. it's just knitting up so cool. And it's a really nice neutral, so it's going to go with everything. It's going to look great with jeans, with like a chocolate colored pant or short or skirt and khaki. Or I might sew a yellow skirt. That would be really cool to have a bright yellow skirt. I should do that. That would be fun. Yeah, so Maritimo. So I cast this on Saturday. Yeah, I cast it on Saturday night before we went to leave for camping. So I've got all this done Saturday night, Sunday, and yesterday. The amount that I was able to knit yesterday. So it's going really, really quickly. Sorry, it's all tangly now. So that is whip number 2, Maritimo. And then whip number 3 is this sock that I rediscovered. I had lost it for a while, and it turned out to be in one of the moving boxes, but I found it. So I have restarted it up. This is a pair of socks for my husband, Josh. And it is knit out of Patons Kroy. It's not FX. I don't know, Patons Kroy sock. But it works for the self-striping cowl that we're hosting in, or that I'm hosting in the group. So this one is the Woodsy colorway. So the stripe sequence is, you know, all the way from here to here is one stripe sequence. And then it's kind of broken up by the heel, so you can see how this went this way. We've got the zigs going that way, but all the zags are on the heel. The full green stripe ended up being expended on the heel, so it just went right to this again, but that's fine. So I've completed the heel flap. I'm working on the gusset now. So I do a step 72 stitch sock. I actually ended up knitting this heel flap a little bit longer, I think, than I meant to. So I picked up like 20 or 21 stitches on each side. So the gusset is going to be a little bit more of the foot than I normally would do. I usually do an 18 slip stitch rows. So I guess 36 row heel normally for him, but I think this ended up being more around 19 slip stitch rows or 20. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and count it, obviously, before I start sock number 2. But those are going really well. So I knit on these at the campsite, and a little bit also on Saturday. I think I knit some on them on Saturday or Friday night. One of the two. But anyway, just a vanilla sock. But they're going pretty well, and I'm glad that I've kind of got my sock mojo back. It seems like it's working for Josh socks, and he needs more socks than I do anyway, so I'm going with it. And I'm going to be test knitting a pair of socks for Kristen, who is Full and Vine, if you didn't know. She has a colorwork design that she showed, I think, on her last podcast, or maybe the one before that. So I had already agreed that I was going to test knit that for her. Just a second.